Welcome to Walk by Faith. I'm Abigail Knott. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and share. So, today I'm going to be talking about seeing with spiritual eyes, and something we need to do for this next year is to be able to see things through spiritual eyes, to not really look at things through our physical eyes, because what we see is not what actually happening. It's like in counseling, when what the rule in counseling is the presenting problem is not really the problem. And in the same way, when we look at things with our spiritual eyes, what we are seeing is, and what we think is the root of it, is not actually the root of it. Or what we are seeing is happening around us is actually only half the picture. The other half is what is happening in the spiritual realm. And I'm going to um, actually talk about some testimonies today. I was just thinking of different areas where I have heard testimonies, or I have experienced something myself that is just confirmation of what God wants to say for 2026, is that no matter what happens, He is in control, and He is actually protecting you. Okay? Spend time with Him, as always, in the Word, praying, worshiping, being in His presence, and help Him. One thing that you should ask Him, my hair is dear Makar. One thing you should ask Him this year is to help you to see with spiritual eyes what is going on, not only in our world, but also what is happening in the spiritual realms. And so let's listen to what has been happening to people, just people that I know. Um, and one story is actually also about an experience that I had, um, also. But a lot of the stories are about stories, just stories that I've heard during the year, that other people, where God's really stepped in for them. So this story happened actually just the other day. Um, my mom was we helping out a family right now who was gone on holiday, and they have asked my mother to just look out for their dogs, and kind of bring the maid to the house so that she can clean it. And the maid's name is Linda, lovely lady. She works at our church also, and she's definitely a part of our church family. So um, a- after Linda was finished one of the days recently, my mother went to our friend's house to take Linda back to where she lives. So just before they got there, there was an accident. A car was coming down the hill, and they think that its brakes actually failed, and it ended up crashing into a bush. I don't know what. I don't know if there's confirmation on that the brakes failed, but what it seemed like was that the brakes were failing, and the car crashed into the bush. Um, and my mom told me, if she had just been slightly earlier, she would have been part of that accident. Is that not God's protection? Another one, um, that hasn't come from anyone I know, but it was a Christian movie that was actually based on a real story, and it happened to an Australian pastor, though at the time he was not a pastor yet. And it's a surfing movie, I'm sure some of you might have even seen the surfing movie where the guy gets stung in the middle of the night by a Japanese man o' war. I think it was a Japanese man o' war jellyfish, and how he suffered and how he went back to shore and was trying to get help, and how he suffered so much because people thought he was high on drugs, and they just laughed at him and would not help him. And even as they're laughing at him, he is saying, I forgive them. I forgive them. And he ends up dying, but God brings him back to life on the morgue table, and now he witnesses to people all across the world. Today, he is a pastor. What about another time where, before I went to the States, when I was 16 for a singing competition? It was a long time ago, but it's still valid because God um, allowed me to see with spiritual eyes what was going on, right? So before I went to the States for a singing competition, I got sinusitis, and I broke out in what looked like German measles. The doctor was very confused. I think she even asked for a second opinion, and because I should have been very sick. But this was like about 2 weeks before I went. But I knew God's plan. It had been confirmed to me that it was God's plan that I go to the States. And this was God's plan for me to go. So I had no fear. And 2 weeks later, I was on the plane, everything cleared up. My faith was enough, right? Um, and then even a little 4-year-old girl could not contain herself on Christmas Day while sitting quietly listening to the life giving words of the elder who was preaching. She suddenly burst out with, Amen! Even our children can sense God's presence. So it's very important that we bring them up in the ways of God. And obviously, everyone had a good little laugh. I'm not sure the person who was preaching understood what was happening, but we just love that. We love our children to feel the presence of God and to just not be able to contain themselves by just bursting out with Amen. Um, we love that. Um, they are our future. It's very important what these kids are exposed to, and that they are exposed to the presence of God. What about a 10-year-old girl who was riding to her grandparents' house, suddenly surrounded by 8 boys intent on doing her harm? She freezes in fear. Out of the blue, like a bolt of lightning, she hears a clear, quiet, urgent voice. Listen to me. Don't show your fear. Find the leader and stare him down now. She finds the leader and stares him down with her determined gaze. The leader shows fear. Come on, guys, let's go, he says. And 8 boys ride away from one little girl. That's the power of Christ in her. What about the couple whose car breaks down in the middle of the night and are approached by thugs? But a miracle happens, and a man comes with a truck on this lonely, dark road in the middle of the night, and he chases the thugs away and tows them to the nearest town. It later turns out that he's a Christian. God protects us, and where things may happen that seem bad, they are actually, it's actually God uses the bad and He works it out for your good. That is my encouragement for 2016. He works all things out for your good. So when bad things happen, do not stress. Do not do not think that this is it now, but pray and seek the Lord, and He always turns it out for the good. What the enemy meant for evil, God turns for the good. Now I want to read you a story. It's from 2 Chronicles 20. Some time later, the people of Moab and the people of Ammon, with other Ammonim came up to fight Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat was told a huge army from beyond the Dead Sea, from Aram, is on its way to fight you. Right now, they are in Hatsatzon Tamar, that is En Gedi. Jehoshaphat was afraid, so he determined to seek Adonai. What did he do when he was afraid? The first thing he did was seek Adonai, seek God. So that's number one. Something happens, you're not sure what's going on, you're a bit scared, seek God. He proclaimed a fast throughout Judah. Fast. And Judah assembled to seek help from Adonai. They came from all the cities of Judah to seek Adonai. Seek Adonai. Standing in front of the new courtyard in the house of Adonai, among those assembled from Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Adonai, God of our ancestors, you alone are God in heaven. You rule all the kingdoms of the nations. In your hand are power and strength, so that no one can withstand you. You, our God, drove out those living in the land ahead of your people Israel, and gave it forever to the descendants of Abraham, your friend. They lived in it, built you on a sanctuary in it for your name, and said, if calamity strikes us, such as war, judgment, disease, famine, we will stand before this house that is before you, since your name is in this house, and cry to you in our distress, and you will hear us and rescue us. So, what did they do first? Okay, what did Jehoshaphat do first? Jehoshaphat sought Adonai. Then he fasted. Then he got everyone in Judah to seek Adonai. Now they are praying. They have gathered together and they are praying. Sorry, my hand is outside of the frame, right? So seeked God as a leader, fasted, um, got everyone else to seek God. That's a good leader. And then they prayed. Okay? So now see the people of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt, so that they turned away from them and did not destroy them, are now repaying us evil. They have come to throw us out of your possession, which you gave us as an inheritance. Our God, won't you execute judgment against them? For we haven't strength enough to defeat this huge horde coming against us, and we don't know what to do. But our eyes are on you. All Judah stood before Adonai with their little ones, their wives, and their children. Then, in the middle of the assembly, the spirit of Adonai came upon Yachiel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Benaiah, the son of Yeel, the son of Mattaniah, the Levites, okay? From the descendants of Asaph, he said, listen, all Judah, you who live in Jerusalem, and King Jehoshaphat, here is what Adonai is saying to you. Don't be afraid or distressed by this great horde, for the battle is not yours, but God's. That reminds me of a young man who fought a giant, and he said, for the battle is not ours, but battle belongs to the Lord. Okay, that's a repetition. He's using David's words, and everyone there would have realized that he was using David's words. Tomorrow go down against them. They will be coming up by the ascent of Aziz, and you will find them at the end of the Wadi, before the Ural Desert. You don't you won't even need to fight this battle. Just take your possessions, Judah and Jerusalem. Stand still and watch how God will deliver you. Don't be afraid or distressed. Tomorrow go out against them, for Adonai is with you. Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground, while all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell down before Adonai, worshipping Adonai. And the Levites, from the descendants of Kati to the descendants of Korhi, um, stood up and praised Adonai, the God of Israel, at the top of their voices. The next morning they rose early and went out into the Tekoa desert. As they left, Jehoshaphat stood and said, "Listen to me, Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in Adonai your God, and you will be safe. Trust in his prophets, and you will succeed." After consulting the people, he appointed those who would sing to Adonai and praise the splendor of his holiness as they went out ahead of the army, saying, "Give thanks to Adonai, for his grace continues forever." Number 5, worship. Doesn't seem logical, but this is spiritual warfare we are doing. Okay. Right, so give thanks to Adonai, for his grace continues forever. Then, during the time when they were singing and praising, Adonai brought a surprise attack against the people of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come to fight Judah. They were defeated. What happened was that the people of Ammon and Moab began attacking those people who lived by Mount Seir to kill and destroy them completely. And when they had finished off the people from Seir, they set to work slaughtering one another. So when Judah reached the watchtower overlooking the desert, they looked towards the horde, and there in front of them were corpses fallen to the ground. None had escaped. Jehoshaphat and his army came to take the spoil from them, and found among them personal property in abundance, with corpses, with precious jewels, which they stripped off for themselves until they couldn't carry any more. They took 3 days just to collect the spoil. There was so much. On the fourth day, they assembled in the valley of Barakah, blessing. They were blessed, and where they blessed Adonai. Hence, that place is called the Valley of Barakah to this day. Then they returned, everyone from Judah and Jerusalem, with Jehoshaphat, leading them joyfully back to Jerusalem, for Adonai had caused them to rejoice over their enemies. 2026, you will rejoice over your enemies. They came to Jehoshaphat with lyres, lutes, and trumpets, and went into the house of Adonai. A panic from God was on all the kingdoms of the countries when they heard that Adonai had fought against the enemies of Israel. So Jehoshaphat's rule was a quiet one, because God gave him rest all around. Jehoshaphat ruled over Judah. He was 35 years old when he began his reign, and he ruled 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilki. He lived in the manner of Asa his father, and did not turn away from it, doing what was right from Adonai's perspective, although the high places were not taken away, and the people had not yet set their hearts toward God of their ancestors. Other activities of Jehoshaphat from the beginning to the end are written in the records of Jehu, the son of Hanani, which have been asserted in the annals of the kings of Israel. It was after this that Jehoshaphat joined the Ahaziah, king of Israel, um, who was acting very wickedly. He joined together with him to build large ships capable of going to Tarshish. They made the ships in Etion Giva. Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop there because the point of it was not that last bit, okay? But I got a bit into my Bible reading there, okay? um, but basically, he prayed, he seeked God, he um, he caused other people, all the people, to seek God too. They worshipped, and God fought the battle. So no matter what happens to you here in 2026, because we know things are not always a bed of roses, and the Lord promised that things would not always be a bed of roses. But if you pray, if you seek the Lord, and if you worship Him in spirit and in truth, if you ask what He says, how do I look at this through your eyes, Lord? Through spiritual eyes, He will help you to see things through spiritual eyes, and He will fight the battles for you. No weapon that has been forged against you will be successful. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it says, right? That's in Isaiah 54, I think. Um, right? So he fights the battle for you. You don't have to be scared. All you have to do is be in the Word, be on your knees, be worshiping, be seeking God in everything that is concerning you. And remember that he fights the battles. The battle is not against flesh and blood, but by the powers and principalities and all the demonic forces in the spiritual realm. And that battle is being fought in the spiritual realm. And we know the ultimate end of that battle. But we need to pray through this time, not only for ourselves and for our circumstances that we can be able to see it through spiritual eyes, but we also need to pray for others to come to Christ so that they can also get that gift of seeing things through spiritual eyes, and so that the kingdom of heaven can expand, and so that God can save, Jesus can save them and speak into their lives. Um, we need to pray for our leaders. We need to pray for the people who speak truth, that God protects them, because those are the people that come under attack. Okay. And God fights our battles. The people who are wicked, the people who are doing evil in the sight of the Lord, like all these kings, will have a bad end, because at some point God says, enough is enough. Now these are the consequences for your actions. Okay, so that's it for today. Remember, encouragement for 2026. Pray for spiritual eyesight into things that happen here on earth, to us or around us. Remember that he fights the battle, not you. Okay? He goes ahead of us and he fights our battles, but we need to be doing spiritual warfare as a soldier of Christ, as a spiritual warrior, as a prayer warrior, praying into these things and praying for the people involved and for salvations of people also, but also that we can see it through spiritual eyes to know what is happening in these times, to be like the sons of, what are they called? The sons of Zechariah, the sons of Nehemiah. I can't remember, but I think I'll put it in this description. But basically, God fights your battles. Pray to Him to give you spiritual eyesight, and He will. He will give you spiritual insight into what is happening. Because in these last days, we need to be stronger. We need to be able to see beyond what is physically before our eyes to what is happening in the spiritual realm. And we need to understand it from that higher perspective and pray from above and not beneath. Okay. So, God bless, and that's it for today. Please enjoy your day. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and share. Bye.